Talking about a private sector participant, they can sell their technology to China, to any adversary, to anyone. They don't have the national security priority embedded in their entire architecture. And we will risk losing being ahead of many issues that are important for national security. So I would urge you to revisit your exuberance for the private sector, because it puts us in jeopardy of not being first mover in a space that is essential for national security, for encryption, for winning the next war. So I urge you to meet with national security personnel, particularly Senator Reid and I, in a classified setting, so that we can make the case that we are making a strategic error here. So I just want to tell you that, because the cuts to NIST, the cuts across the board, are hugely problematic, and I do not think this is an area where you should feel comfort that the private sector is doing great work. We need to bring some of that work in-house and keep it in-house. Point one. Point two, tariffs. I've traveled all across New York. People are very anxious about the cost of everything. When you look at small manufacturers, when you look at any small business, these tariffs have been like a ton of bricks on their ability to make money, to stay open, and to continue to provide. I would like to know, what's your plan for getting refunds to our small businesses, refunds to our people, to the American citizens who've had to pay more? Because right now, tariffs have driven up costs so significantly that it's put many businesses at risk and in peril.
The process of refunds is run by Customs and Border Patrol under Homeland, and it's their process, and they have a significant process they're undertaking, but that is not the work of the Department of Commerce.
What is your perspective, however, and what are you advocating for in regards to our small businesses, manufacturers, and people who have paid the price of these tariffs?
If you build in America, you don't have to pay the tariff, and the benefit of building in America, as you know, in New York, when we were there opening the $100 billion Micron factory in the state of New York, they were driven by the tariff policy of semiconductors. So building in America is driven by that tariff policy. And importers, I understand, don't like it, but those who manufacture in America and hire Americans,
but you know,
they like it, and they like it fine.
No, they don't, because the reality of manufacturing in America today is that many of their inputs come from abroad. So, for example, a lot of our lumber comes from Canada. A lot of other particularly manufactured pieces might come from any ally or any other place in the globe. So manufacturing is highly complex, and it was created with an idea that the world was much flatter than it is today, with an idea that supply chains were inviolate. We know that's not true post-COVID, but tariffs on key allies like Canada can cripple manufacturers that are domestic manufacturers because their inputs come from an allied country.
Bringing in manufacturing to America, we've been hollowed out. Our manufacturing has been hollowed out. It's been sent overseas. Canada has the advantage of USMCA. They have the best tariff deal in the world. They just treat us unfairly at every margin they possibly can, and the president is out to try to fix that and to reimagine it. But the answer is, make your products at home and you have no tariff.
It's just very hard to do that quickly. And so since there is going to be a benefit when tariffs are changed, that benefit should go back to the manufacturers and the small businesses. Second, if you believe that, then why are we cutting the MEP program, the Manufacturing Extension Partnerships? Those are the job creators that allow for these manufacturers to train their next generation of workers. And in New York State, we have 10 MEP centers that created nearly 33,000 jobs over the last 5 years and contributed $7.6 billion to the economy. I just don't know why we're cutting these programs. That seems extremely unwise given the challenges we have.
Unfortunately, you weren't here to hear what I said before, but the Inspector General has taken great exception with many of these programs. The program was started in the late 80s for advanced manufacturing. I don't take issue with figuring out how to do it right. But when it's been done wrong, it needs to be cleaned up. There were all sorts of reports about excessive compensation and those statistics. The Inspector General challenged the statistics and said they weren't right. I think if we got it right, we could find a way to do these well for America.
Well,
right now we haven't gotten
I would
it
urge
right.
you to come to New York, and I will show you how we got it right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So now watch this exchange about Canada. Lutnick goes off on USMCA, says they treat us unfairly at every margin. Just keep this in mind. USMCA is the deal Trump himself signed in his first term. So we're now apparently mad at, his own deal. All right, so let's talk about what just happened. Small businesses crushed under a ton of bricks. That's not some metaphor someone made up for a headline. That is literally what Gillibrand said on the record. And the receipts on this are not vibes. According to her own office, Trump's tariffs are costing the average New York household about $2,400 a year per household. And a recent small business survey, 30% of owners said they're going to have to raise prices because of these tariffs. 30%. So when Lutnick sits there and says, just move your supply chain, just relocate, what he's actually saying is, your existing business doesn't matter. The shop that's been running for 40 years doesn't matter. Just rebuild from zero. Easy. This is the MEP moment right here. Watch what happens when Gillibrand asks the obvious question. Why are we gutting the one federal program that literally exists to bring manufacturing back to America? This one almost nobody is covering, and it should be everywhere. The administration is cutting NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, while telling Congress that private companies should drive quantum computing development. Quantum, real quick, is the technology that breaks every form of encryption we use right now. Banking, military, diplomatic cables, nuclear command, all of it. And they want that developed primarily inside private corporations, whose legal duty is not to America. It's to their shareholders. The same crowd that screams about TikTok being a national security threat is fine handing the most strategically important technology of the next 50 years to companies who have already proven they will sell to whoever cuts the biggest. Check. And listen to what she's actually asking for here. A classified briefing with armed services and intelligence committee members. That's not partisan theater. That's a senator with full security clearance, basically saying, you don't understand what you're handing away. And here's where it goes from bad policy to, just embarrassing. Lutnick literally said, quote, they suck, end quote, about Canada's economic strategy. That's the Commerce Secretary of the United States about Canada. Trump threatened a 100% tariff on Canadian goods over a single weekend. And now they're saying USMCA, the trade deal Trump himself signed in his first term and called the best deal ever, is being abused. So either Trump signed a terrible deal back then, or this is a pretext to rip it up. Pick one. Meanwhile, real consequences. Canadian tourism into New Hampshire alone is down 30%. The auto industry in Michigan, the lumber guys in Maine, the dairy farmers in Wisconsin, all sitting there going, what are we supposed to do here? There it is. A ton of bricks. Not a metaphor, not exaggeration, just the everyday reality of running a small shop right now. And here's the kicker. The Manufacturing Extension Partnership, the MEP, the federal program that exists for one reason, helping small American manufacturers train workers, modernize equipment, scale production. The exact thing the administration says it wants. They are cutting it. Gillibrand laid it out on camera. New York alone. 10 MEP centers, nearly 33,000 jobs created in the last 5 years, 7.6 billion added to the local economy. Multiply that across all 50 states. And Lutnick's defense? An IG report on mismanagement. Okay. Reform it then. Fix it. Don't gut it. You don't burn down the fire station because one truck has a flat tire. And this is the heart of it. American manufacturers physically cannot operate without imported inputs. That's not a flaw. That's how modern manufacturing actually works. So putting tariffs on those inputs doesn't bring manufacturing home. It kills the manufacturing that's already here. So here's the line. Say that for the next time someone tells you these tariffs are about helping American workers. They're tariffing the materials those workers need. They're cutting the program that trains those workers. They're insulting the trading partner those workers depend on. And the Commerce Secretary's own family firm is selling tariff refund derivatives, profiting off the chaos he is creating in his day job. That's not protection. That's a hustle with a flag on it. If this helped, like, subscribe, share with someone who needs the full picture. I'll see you in the next one.